Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Valane, joined alongside just Logan Plant. How you doing, Logan?
Where's Zach? It's actually my
Scheduling
fault he's not
conflicts.
here.
Yeah, couldn't get all of us together in the same room, so we're gonna have to same room, same time on the call. Really can't do it in the same room.
No,
Uh,
you
be
cannot.
back to normal next week, but for now it's just us. Before we talk about the Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass, just want to mention we have a YouTube page. We always save it to the end of the show, but I thought I'd plug it at the beginning. We
Whoa.
post this show on YouTube at Ode to Games. So if you want to catch the video version and you didn't realize that we had a video version, you can check it out there. It goes up around the same time as the audio version. So
Are you
yeah,
saying that you don't think everyone that listens makes it to like the 80-minute mark when you
you
finally
know,
say that?
it's a marathon on some of these episodes, so I thought I should do it at the beginning, not the end for once. Anyways, Booster Course Pass. The first part of it is here. We've got 8 tracks,
Yep.
and we're going to talk about it. So we played it together for a little bit, and then you, Logan, you have played it a lot more than me. So I guess I'll hand it off to you for the first little bit. What are your thoughts after putting in a large amount of time into some of these new tracks?
Dude, I put so much time into the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass this last week. Oh, I don't even know how many times I played all the new tracks, like 15 to 20 times each. Like I've played these tracks a ton. And It it has been a long time since I've been this kind of split on a Nintendo product. I think this is such a strange release that I have not really been able to wrap my head around how I feel about it. And you and I kind of were talking about this a little bit just as we were playing them. So, as we kind of talked about before these things came out, they look like they're from Mario Kart Tour. They look like the not just the tour tracks, because there are three here. There's Paris, Tokyo, and then Ninja Hideaway, but the other tracks as well look like they have been pulled directly from the mobile smartphone game Mario Kart Tour. And that is true. And because of that, they do not look visually good. Specifically like Toad Circuit, God, it's just drab. It is boring. The color palette is ugly. Like there was a picture comparison floating around Twitter of Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 8, the figure 8 circuit track that is new to Mario Kart 8 and really shows off the anti-gravity versus Toad Circuit. You've just got like these really detailed trees in the background, and you've got like this checkerboard pattern on the grass, and even like the little borders of the track, the red and white bumpers just look like weathered and worn and detailed. And then you compare that to Toad Circuit, which is a track originally from the 3DS, also a part of Mario Kart Tour, now in this booster course pass. And it's on like Photoshop, you can take the paint bucket icon and just turn one surface into one solid color. That's what it looks like. Like the grass is just this really ugly green, and there's no texture, no shading, no nothing. And I'm not a graphics snob typically, but this is more an art style thing. I saw a lot of people being like, oh, since when do Nintendo fans care about graphics? We've never had to, because Nintendo has such good art styles for the most part. But now this art style is ugly, and it significantly clashes with Mario Kart 8, which I consistently call, still 8 years later, one of the best looking games Nintendo's ever made. So I'm just really conflicted on it from a visual standpoint, Kev.
Well, when you're talking about Toad Circuit, I think the course itself doesn't help its case at all either, because
No.
beyond the fact that, yeah, it's not very detailed and they're copying and pasting all the jumping Yoshis and Toads, the track is, I don't know why they picked it. I really don't.
Hmm.
It is incredibly bland. It is literally just a figure 8 track. And the only interesting thing that happens is that you can go under a bridge or you can do a jump over the bridge. I
Hmm.
Out of all of the tracks that you could pick, it baffles me that they chose that one because it's just so dull. At least in terms of the rest of the tracks that they chose, I think that the picks beyond Toad Circuit, just the tracks themselves were good.
Yeah, Toad Circuit was the opening track on Mario Kart 7, and it was so that little ramp was the first taste you ever got of hang gliding. But now hang gliding is such a normal thing in these games, especially in Mario Kart 8. It's in so many of the tracks that it doesn't feel special anymore when it's like, oh, you got one ramp that comes up after the first lap. But actually, I learned this week because of Mario Kart 8 and it coming to the game that it doesn't even come up after the first lap, because on 200cc the track is so short. You get there on lap 2 and the ramp still isn't up, which is really funny. It comes up at the 35-second mark. And yeah, you'll be done with 1.5 laps of Toad Circuit after 35 seconds on 200cc, which is just crazy. Like, that's something else, Kev. The tracks are a lot shorter than the other tracks in Mario Kart 8. And it wasn't just me that felt like they were shorter. I went and I compared the time trial times of the new courses to just a random selection of older courses from the base Mario Kart 8 game. And just consistently the ghost that Nintendo does that comes along with the DLC that you can race against and try to beat was like 15 to 20 seconds faster than the ghosts were on the other tracks. So that's not because they're harder, it's just because the tracks are shorter. They're like 5 to 10 seconds shorter per lap. And it's noticeable. It's noticeable that these things feel a little shorter. And we talked about maybe that's because they're from the mobile game and they're shorter than they used to be, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we have not played Mario Kart Tour for the record, so don't know exactly if it's a
Yeah.
one-to-one
I did for like
transition
15 minutes and I hated it and I deleted
from.
it.
Yeah, I had no interest in it at all. But yeah, it does seem like that they seem a little bit shaved down. Like I
Hmm.
can't put my finger on it exactly, but yeah, they do seem a little bit short, even compared to their original counterparts. And then yeah, you put it up against the Mario Kart 8 tracks. I think that's the whole issue in and of itself, is that you play them by themselves. You just have a selection of the booster course pass tracks, and it's fine. You're driving around it. Besides Toad Circuit, that thing can't be
It does work.
saved.
It's not fun.
But yeah, beyond that, all the other ones, if you're just playing them all together, it's fine. It's a good time. I feel like the problems arise when you have a more random selection that has original Mario Kart 8 deluxe tracks and these. That's when it becomes way more noticeable, the change in art style and just in the lengths of some of these courses.
I do have to say, Kev, I've been playing them mixed in with the old courses, and I am already more used to it than I thought when we had last talked about it. I am already more used to going back and forth because at the end of the day, it is just a different art style. And is it a worse one? Yeah, but I guess I'm just getting used to it. And I think that the three tour tracks look good. They are noticeably more cartoony than Mario Kart 8's kind of more realistic art style. But Paris, Tokyo, and the Ninja one, apart from some background things in Tokyo that really stick out, like,
Specifically Mount Fuji, that does
yeah,
not look good.
it doesn't. But the tracks themselves, they look fine. Definitely a different style, but those tracks look like they had a lot of effort put into them as opposed to some of the other retro tracks they pulled over. So those three are good. Coconut Mall's weird though. I think we kind of talked about it. It used to feel more like you were actually driving through a mall. Now it's this weird, cartoony, empty racetrack. Like the stretch of road at the end where the Mii's used to be driving in the cars. Wow, is it? There's nothing there. There's nothing there anymore to look
Yeah,
at.
that
And
that main road after you take that jump, I believe there were like signs or something there, and now it is
oh
just
yeah,
a really fat straight road of nothing. And then you turn that corner, and then yeah, the cars don't move anymore. So it's just like there's no movement in that section. Everything is just
mhm.
incredibly stationary and kind of sterile.
And there used to be boosts too. It used to be kind of this risk reward thing of there would be the three cars that were like backing up and pulling forward, and there was a boost in front of each of them, and you had to time it so you hit the boost when the car wasn't blocking it. And now there's just nothing there. And yeah, you said, Kev, there used to be signs that said like thanks for coming, and then like have a great day, like a big archway on that first stretch of road that you would like drive under. And it's just gone. It's just
And it's
gone.
like, why is it
It's
gone?
weird.
Why is it not there? That's
Yeah.
like how did where'd that go? I guess in the transition to Mario Kart Tour, they got lost somewhere.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
they're in
know. Yeah.
7, because that course got remade in Mario Kart 7, that's all there. And now it's just not, and it's really bizarre. But I think that Mario Kart 8's gameplay elevates these courses, because I have still been playing them an insane amount, as we talked about. I played them with you, I played it with Zach, and another friend separately. I played it with my family. I've played it by myself. I've completed the Grand Prix on 150 Mirror and 200. I've been playing online because the new tracks are in the online mix. Whenever a new one pops up, it's basically a unanimous vote from all 12 people to pick it. Like, the gameplay is so good in Mario Kart 8 that just having new layouts to experience it on is a good thing. And something we haven't mentioned yet that I think is really important is the price of the DLC. It is 25 bucks for 48 tracks. It is 50 cents a track, and it really is quantity over quality, which is interesting because we usually don't see that from Nintendo, which is why I think it's weird. And so while I'm having a ton of fun on the new tracks, and I think it's a blast to have them, I still almost want to hold them to a higher standard than this because it really looks like kind of a low effort project on their end. And for a game that is so polished and that Deluxe just improved in every way with a battle mode that is now one of the best battle modes in the series. The biggest issue with the Wii U one is now one of the game's strengths. And now it's like, oh, Mario Kart 8 is one of the best looking, most polished packages Nintendo's ever put together with this weird asterisk of, except those 48 lower quality tracks that came out 8 years later. And I just don't know how to feel about it.
It is also weird that it's been so long. Like,
Yeah.
you'd think if they had this long, you're like, oh, you would hope that they would be of a higher quality than what we ended up getting, but unfortunately, that's not the case. But you know, part of me also thinks that that's because this wasn't really part of the plan originally. Because
Hmm.
the original plan was probably get Deluxe out there and then have that sell however much it sells, and then at some point in the Switch's life, we'll make the next one. And then it just kept selling. And like, why would we ever stop selling Mario Kart 8 or bring a new one in the Switch's life cycle? But we should make some new content for it, I guess, because people keep buying it. And so then they can just pull everything from Mario Kart Tour and dump it in there.
And that is something, Kevin, I'm glad you brought up because I kind of had an epiphany the other night when I was really just thinking, trying to think about what is my verdict on this for this show. And here's what I came to. I came to the fact that I think I was originally looking at this the wrong way. I think I was originally looking at this as this is the 48 tracks that are going to sustain Mario Kart fans for the next 8 years because that's how long it's been since the last game. It has been 8 years since Mario Kart 8, 7 years since the DLC wrapped. But that's not the case. These things are going to be rolling out 8 at a time over the next 2 years. And I think Mario Kart 9 could be a launch game for the next system, which could be coming out fall of 2024. So that's basically saying that these tracks are just kind of like to tide us over. It's like a little snack or appetizer until the next new evolution in Mario Kart. And so for that, I really like it. I really like that we're getting 48 tracks that maybe in a few years they will not feel as fun as the Mario Kart 8 original tracks still do feel. But that's okay because hopefully we'll have a new Mario Kart with new mechanics and new tracks to play by the time that these 48 tracks start to feel a little bit stale. So that makes sense to me if that's the plan. If it's 2025 or 2026 and there's still no word of a new Mario Kart, then I think this was a bad call. And I would have preferred to see 16 high quality DLC tracks like we got with Mario Kart 8 originally, rather than these 48 low effort tracks. But if we are getting a new Mario Kart within the next 2 to 3 years, then I think this makes sense. It pulled me back into the game. It pulled you back into the game. I played with so many people over the last week, and the online seems to have way more people too filling up. So people are coming back to play these. It's a fun eventized thing. So I think that that's a good way to do it as long as there's a new Mario Kart in the pipe. Because if in 6 years we're still playing Toad Circuit, and we're like, oh my God, when are we getting a
I'm
new
still
game?
going off this one jump.
That's a problem. But for what it is, literally just something for Mario Kart fans, for people who have been starved for content for the last 8 years, I think that it's a good thing. And I'm excited to see what the next waves are. And I never expected all 48 to be good. I think that the bad ones stick out a little more when there's only 8 at a time. Like if we got all 48 this last week, Toad Circuit wouldn't seem that bad because we just wouldn't play it.
Yeah,
But
it
when
would
there's
just be you play it once and you're like, all
once,
right, well,
that's it. But because there's only 8, it really sticks out. But that being said, the good ones stick out too. I think Ninja Hideaway is a phenomenal track. I think it stands up with some of the best tracks in Mario Kart 8. That track is so cool. There's so many varied paths. It is so fun to race with friends. And every turn is a 90-degree turn, which is crazy. It's such a difficult track. So that one's super fun. And that is one that when it's all said and done will enter my rotation of tracks I like to play. So if we can get like 20 to 25 of these things that I'm like, yeah, those are really good and I'm going to play those years later, that's a win because the DLC is so cheap. I don't like that I feel that way, but I think it's what I've come to.
the way to rationalize it, rationalize the
Yeah.
fact that the quality isn't up to par with the original game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of it does depend on what the plan is. I also think that I probably see the next Mario Kart within the first year of whatever comes after the Switch. If
Hmm.
not, then I think there's bigger issues going on. Also, on the DLC, I appreciate the Mario Kart Tour tracks. Originally,
Me too.
when they were announcing that a lot of these Mario Kart Tour tracks are going to be in the game, I was a little bit worried because as someone who has not played Mario Kart Tour, the assumption is that these tracks are really bare bones or watered down because you have to make it work on a mobile device for very casual players to play. So I was
Hmm.
really worried that the Mario Kart Tour tracks weren't going to stack up. Funny thing is that the Mario Kart Tour tracks are honestly the best ones
Totally.
in the pack. Ninja Hideaway, even though they do not label it as a Mario Kart Tour track,
They gotta
just
update
empty.
that,
It's
right?
it's it's
That's so
it's
weird.
new. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Mario Kart Tour tracks are great. I love Ninja Hideaway's multiple ways to go through the race, and with the other two, they consistently change up the track on each lap, which makes it way more interesting to go through and learn how the track works. And it honestly makes some of these other tracks like Toad Circuit just look really bad in comparison.
Yeah, I got to talk about those tour tracks real quick because it is genius what they've done there, and really the most effort I think was put into making those Paris and Tokyo tracks work. In Mario Kart Tour, there are four different versions of Tokyo and Paris. It's like Tokyo Blur 1, 2, 3, and 4, and Paris Promenade 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they all have slightly different layouts. And in Mario Kart 8, what they have done is they have made it so you do one of those different layouts on the different laps of the same race, right? Like in Tokyo Blur, in the first lap you turn left, in the second lap you turn right, in the third lap you turn right again, but then a little bit later you go on a totally different path. So each lap is totally different, and they've managed to cram Tokyo Blur 1, 2, and 3 into one singular race, making it one of the most unique courses in the game because there's really no other tracks that have totally different layouts on an individual lap. Like that is something super unique. You have the tracks that are like three distinct segments, like Mount Wario, or you have tracks that like something changes on a future lap, like the ramp in Toad Circuit. But
Big change.
you don't have any tracks that are like completely different layouts. Like they put up a barrier so you cannot go the way that you went on the first lap. And then Paris Promenade, they do this thing where on the start of the third lap, they basically take you on this big path that serves as a U-turn. So then you're going backwards for the third lap. And if you're destroying the computers on normal, which you probably will be because they're a joke, you will actually drive past them as they're still completing the second lap.
It's like
And that's
Luigi
just,
Circuit in
uh-huh.
in Double Dash.
Yeah, so that's super cool what they did with the tour tracks. They really are the standout, and there's like 12 more tracks from tour that could be pulled over, and I hope they are because they got to be in a better game than tour because the tracks are good. The tracks are really good.
Also, on the topic of Mario Kart Tour, we're going to talk a little bit later about some smartphone games getting shut down, and it's just nice that they escape it in some way. Now, this is DLC only, so if the DLC goes away, then they kind of go away again.
Yeah.
But you know, mobile games are so disposable, and they'll come and go, and literally when they go, they go. They're gone. So it's
Hmm.
nice that they're going to get pulled over and basically saved from whatever ends up happening to Mario Kart Tour because it's not going to last forever. And I
Yeah.
could see that just completely vanishing, but you can always go and play a version of them here.
I just wish that Nintendo would release a complete edition of this, like Smash Brothers, like we've talked about, because
Yeah.
there's so much DLC that is so good in Smash Brothers specifically, and then like Ninja Hideaway, I don't ever want that to go away and become inaccessible for people, especially people who like don't who are like subscribers and then stop subscribing
Oh,
and then
yeah,
it goes
that could
away
be
and
a
they
little
lose it.
nasty.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, if you've
I
got
felt a
the
little safer buying it.
expansion pass, you get it for free as
Yeah.
long as you're a subscriber.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good. Like if I was reviewing this, I would say this is good, not great. I think that the tour tracks are great. I think that the other tracks are a little ugly and it really stands out when you're playing them. And just the length of the track is weird. But at the end of the day, Mario Kart 8's gameplay is just so good. It's the best kart racer ever. And so just to have a reason to go back to that after so long has been super fun. And it I kind of got really excited when I was playing these new tracks, and I'm like, we get to do this 5 more times. We get to have this fun event where all I play over a whole weekend is 8 new Mario Kart tracks, like 5 more times over the next couple of years. And that's exciting. Even if the tracks aren't as good as the stuff that we're still playing in 8, it's like, here's a little snack, here's a little fun weekend for you, and then maybe I won't play these as much anymore, but it's good. I'm glad it exists. I'd rather have this than nothing at all.
Yeah, it's nice to have new tracks to race in, especially since it's been so long. And as long as you can get a track or two out of every single expansion pass, obviously we don't know how the rest of them are
Mhm.
going to go, but as long as you can get at least one or two, you're like, yeah, these are really good. I mean, I think that's still a win because even for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, obviously a lot of they're much higher quality, but there's always, a set number of them that are just the go-to tracks that you always go to. And then some of
Yeah.
them you're like, if that comes up in a random rotation or if I'm getting a little bored of some of these other tracks, I'll go and race on them. But you always have a certain subset of tracks that you always play. And as long as you can add a track or two each time these new ones come around, I think that is a win.
And something I didn't expect to happen so fast, but it already has, is it's already refreshed for me the old tracks that I've been playing for almost a decade, which I didn't expect. I did not expect that. It's like I spend when we play, we sit down, we play all 8 new tracks, and then we're like, all right, let's go play some of the old ones for fun. And it's like they feel fresh just because there's new content in the game. And that's something I didn't expect because I know these layouts so dang well at this point. But yeah, it really is, it's just rejuvenated the whole thing. Which, man, I've almost forgotten how fun it is to have a new Mario Kart because it's been so long, but
Been a
it's like
little while.
it's all I play. I was supposed to talk about Tunic. I didn't play Tunic because all I played was Mario Kart this last week.
And I do think that the release schedule that they're doing here is a great idea of just having it in waves
Hmm.
and have people keep coming back because
Yeah,
that will extend the life of it's not just like a big dump and everyone plays it for a month and then just leaves. Like you keep bringing people back in and that keeps the online going strong with a large group of people that are
keeps the
consistently playing
subscriptions
because
going strong.
well, I don't think the booster course is really the reason why the subscriptions are going to be flying off the shelves. I think it's just one person in the family playing who's like, I want to play in 64 games, and then they kind of
Hmm.
just drag the rest of the family along with them, and then you
Yeah,
just kind of forget about it.
yeah.
Um,
Are
but
you on the expansion pack?
no, I could care less about most of the N64 games that have come in, especially when you've got Paper Mario over here, where if you hit a specific
They fixed
tree,
that.
it okay, it does.
They
Okay,
updated it.
they
Yep.
updated it
I
so it
hear the
doesn't wipe your
emulation's
save.
been getting better. The emulation has been getting steadily
That's good.
improved.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
haven't played it myself though.
I am not paying what they want me to pay for all of that stuff because there's maybe two N64 games that I would care about. I do not care about the DLC, and I do not care about the Genesis games at
Yeah,
all. So
yeah,
I paid for the booster course pass and it was
yeah,
fine. $25. I'll have these forever. Can't complain about that.
yeah. This first wave was 4 $4. It's pretty crazy. $4 for this. I'd say Toad Circuit's worth about 5 cents, but then Ninja Highway is worth like $2 or $3. So it all balances out.
Rip Toad.
Yeah.
Shout out to the jumping Yoshis and, and Toads in what what is the other one? Gorge or
In
um
the Shroom Ridge.
Shroom
Yeah,
Ridge and Toad Circuit where they are doing the exact same jumping pose
dude, it's
throughout the
like
entire track.
they just scattered these Mario characters around the track to make them seem more lively. I feel that way about Choco Mountain too. When you go around that first big bend, there's just like 13 floating paratroopas in no discernible pattern or order, no reason that they're there. Like usually in the Mario Kart tracks, it's like, oh, they're standing like in front of this house. They live in that house, or they're in the stands. But it's like, we got to make it look like this isn't totally empty. Just throw some paratroopers here. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Now this is quality. Now we
Yeah.
got some characters standing
Yeah.
around.
And there's no
But
anti-grav because it is from Tour, which doesn't have it. So there's no anti-gravity in any of the courses, which is weird since that's Mario Kart 8's whole thing.
yeah,
But whatever.
You look at it long enough and you see a lot of the blemishes and weird things that are there.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you're just playing through these tracks and if you're just racing through the tracks at a certain point, it doesn't really matter because you are just racing through them. And sometimes you have to take the time to slow down and be like, all right, this is kind of gross. But I feel like
Exactly.
for most people, they're not going to care. You know, they'll care if Toad Circuit comes on, but with all the other tracks, they're not going to care.
Yeah.
It's just going to be part of the same tracks that they've always been playing with Mario Kart 8. So
Hmm.
it's just nice to get more Mario Kart. I'm looking for it. It makes me more excited for what's coming next.
Yes, which I hope looks gorgeous like Mario Kart 8 does, and I'm sure it will. I'm sure they wouldn't do this for a mainline Mario Kart game. I think
I
that
would
they'll
hope not.
like go into the effort of remaking them. Like I look at like Sky Garden, which is a GBA track, and Ribbon Road, which used to be a GBA track. And Sky Garden, they're like, yeah, we'll just put in a little bit of elevation because the GBA tracks are all flat. But Ribbon Road, they totally tore that thing down and redid it. It has the wavy roads and the
Yeah.
shortcuts and the obstacles, and it's a totally new track. It feels like a Mario Kart 8 track. Sky Garden feels like a GBA track pulled into Mario Kart 8, and that's the difference that I think would be different in a mainline game. I think they'll put in that effort to remaster the tracks as if they're a new track in the new game, rather than, well, it's here now. It's the same. Toad Circuit is garbage, but it's here now. Like, yeah, always back to Toad Circuit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to be back in Mario Kart. It had been a while, so I appreciate it for that at least. It got me back
Do you
into
play it with
Mario Kart
friends
for a little
yet,
bit.
or play it with anyone else?
I have not, but whenever we get together, it'll just be more tracks to play, which is exciting.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
at a certain point, you are racing the exact same track, so it'll be nice to throw some new ones in, and you know, for a lot of the tour tracks, it'll be entirely new for most people, I think.
Most. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm sure we'll be talking about booster course passes as they keep on going. As each wave comes out, we're going to be talking about them as they come out and the varying level of quality in the tracks. But I think that'll be it for now on that. Do we want to get into the news?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about some other Switch news. Also long overdue, the Switch finally added folders, but like with a lot of Nintendo things, there is always a caveat. And the caveat here is how bizarre it is to access the folders. So on the Switch UI, you can't just open up the folders from the main menu. You have to scroll all the way to the right and click on that all software button that takes you to the menu of every game you have on your Switch. And then you hit L, and then it opens up your folders. And I guess, Kev, I'm like, well, what's the point of folders to find a game easier if it takes me a long time to get to the folders menu? I just think it was a strange choice.
Yeah, ideally, you'd have a lot more control over what that main menu looks like if you want to swap things around. And yeah, it does kind of defeat the purpose of it because you want the folders. The purpose of the folders is so that you can find things very quickly. I
Hmm.
guess if you're starting from just the first game on the tiles, you can go left and that takes you to the game library. I'm
Oh, yeah.
pretty sure you
Yeah.
can go left, click on that, then L, and then you get to the groups. So, I mean, you you can get to them kind of quick if you know what you're doing. But yeah, it does seem like kind of a roundabout way. It would have been
Actually, I don't
nice
know if you can
if
do that. I think it just
can you not?
blocks you if you hit left. I think it's just like click, click. I don't know though. I don't have my Switch in
Oh,
front of me. I wish I
that'd be
did.
jury out on that. Come back on that next week. I thought you could do that, but it's been a little while. I've been on my PS5 a lot. But it would have been nice if they integrated it into the menu. Even if it wasn't on the main tiles, if there was like a sub menu below that. You already have the sub menu for like power and like all the and eShop and stuff like that. If you had another menu there where you could access
That would be
the
nice.
groups, that would have been great. And then it's just like one click down on the stick, and then you're at the groups, and then you could click on that just bar, and then it pulls up all of your folders. But I guess
That's a
that's too
good call.
radical a
That's a good
change.
fix.
So
It's not. They added a tab there for Nintendo Switch Online. They already updated that hotbar for something that you could give them money for, but for something that you want, no, you gotta jump through some hoops to get there. But something I do really like about the folders is that it's kind of more like a GG playlist, like the app that we use to kind of keep track of what games we're playing, rankings, things like that. Because you can add a game to multiple folders, which I think is different. than folders
That's
we've seen on
great.
previous consoles. So if you want to make like, oh, my top 10 Switch games folder and just like open it and like play that game, or like you want a Zelda game folder,
Yeah,
but then you also
series
want
or yeah.
like an open world folder. Breath of the Wild could be in both. That's really cool. I really like that about the folders on Switch.
That's nice. Yeah. Have not tested it out yet, but I am looking forward to organizing some things. Now the other question is, why does it take so long for these? Like, why did it take 4 years for Bluetooth? Why did it take 5 years for folders? Like,
Yeah.
because the Switch UI has stayed identical
Hmm.
since it came out, besides Switch Online getting its little thing at the bottom. Like,
Hmm.
it's just so weird. At a certain point, you just assume that it's not going to happen. Like I've gotten to that point with themes, and now I'm like, all right, if it took them 5 years to come up with folders, maybe in year six we get themes.
Yeah,
It's just
hopefully.
it's just weird how long it takes for all of this. At a certain point, you're wondering like, why do it at all if you took this long? Like, I appreciate it. I'm glad it's here, but like at a certain point, why now did you decide like, all right, we're gonna put the folders in now?
I just got my Switch hand delivered by my girlfriend so we could test it out live on the
All
show. And
right,
Kev, you were right. You can go back and
all
forth.
right,
You
I
can
I
go
got
back and
something
forth.
right.
So that's good. That's good to know. So
All right.
you can get to your folders much faster. You couldn't see anything on my washed out
It's
screen.
just white. But yeah,
But
yeah,
yep.
just left
So
off
that's
of
a
that
lot
main
easier.
menu.
That doesn't take as long. It's still weird though. Like the L button right now on the main screen does literally nothing. So why couldn't L just be the folders button?
Right. Yeah, just from the menu.
Because I thought you got to click on all software and then hit L. It's like L's not doing anything for me now. So that's really weird. And I don't know if they'll change it because like Bluetooth came, it's not good and nothing has changed. So I don't know if this is here, it's not good and nothing will change either.
It's probably just like, here's the feature. You got what you
Yeah.
wanted. Shut up.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's-
Super weird, but it's here. You can make folders now. So honestly, I will probably put some of my GG lists just in there. Just I like organizing things that way. I saw like some people putting like all their cartridge games into a folder, all their like
Mhm.
digital games into a folder. I saw a lot of people like dunking on Nintendo for games that don't exist. It was like Zelda, Mario, Rhythm Heaven, and then it was just an empty folder. It's sad. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd also be good to put folders in for like games beaten or games working on or games want to play, because sometimes I want to play a game, or like there's some that I'm like, oh, maybe, and I have to sift through my entire game library
Yeah.
to find some of the ones that maybe I want to play. So it'd be nice to have a folder there of just like, oh, here's like 5 or 6 games that I'd like to play in the near future, and then I can just go to that folder and be like, all right, which one of these do I want to start?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'll probably use it, just not in the way you traditionally use folders. More of like a kind of keep track of things and like a backlog thing, like you're talking about, rather than like something I'll actually use on a
Something
day to
more
day
versatile.
basis. Yeah, there's always a but. It's like Nintendo, whenever they do something you want, there's always a but. Hey, there's new Mario Kart tracks, but they're ugly. Hey, there's folders, but they're basically useless. But all right. Nintendo is also shutting down another mobile game, so the mobile experiment is really coming to an end for Nintendo. This is Dragalia Lost, and this is the only new IP that they made for mobile. This is a action RPG with heavy gotcha mechanics. It was actually one of the better grossing mobile games. It was third on the list behind Fire Emblem Heroes, which is way ahead of everything else. It's like $400 million ahead of the, the next closest game. Like it's not even close. And Animal Crossing Pocket Camp was second. So pretty successful for a new IP, probably because of those gotcha mechanics. But I actually know a lot of people that really liked Dragalia Lost and had a lot of fun with it. But the final campaign chapter, I didn't know this game was still getting content, to be honest. Final campaign chapter is coming out this July. And then sometime after, we don't know when, the service for the game itself will come to a close at a later date. And Nintendo says further details on the end of service schedule will be provided in a future notification. So, Kev, you kind of alluded to it earlier. This game has so much content that you have to work for to get to like unlock all the characters and dragons through the gotcha mechanics. There's so much luck involved. For some people, there's a lot of money involved, and now it's just going away forever.
And that's one of the things that you have to realize when you get into mobile games. Like, I was thinking back to some of the mobile games that I used to play, and it's like I doubt that half of them are still around or accessible anymore. And when you have some of these games that are so heavy on monetization, you just have to assume that at a certain point that investment's just going to go in the toilet,
Yeah.
because no mobile game is really going to last forever. And even if it lasts, it may change iterations depending on how it updates as time goes on. So for everyone out there who's interested in mobile games, remember that these can just vanish, and that if you put a lot of money into it, it could just disappear, and there goes the $100 that you spent on all of the gotcha mechanics to get that new character or to get that new drop. It's just gone. And that's the nature of mobile games. That's how they work.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This is the only place this IP has ever existed for Nintendo. I kind of always thought we'd eventually see a Dragalia Lost RPG on 3DS or on Switch, and who knows if this series will ever return again. I think it's very interesting that they did make a totally new IP for mobile, and that was pretty successful. It was very much designed around mobile mechanics, but I do wonder if we'll ever see this franchise again because it has some cool character design. I always thought about playing it, but it was just that free to play style hurdle that I'm like, I don't want to get really into that. That's not my style of game, so I never did. But they built this total universe for this game that I think we'll see it again. I think we'll see Dragalia Lost's world appear in some form on Switch. Whether that is, I don't think that's going to help any of the people that are losing all of their progress in this game. It'll probably be a totally new thing. But for fans of it, I like to think that the series is going to come back in some way.
I saw an interesting post on Twitter where they were basically like, just imagine in 10 or 15 years and somebody gets really nostalgic about certain games that they played, maybe even including Dragalia Lost, and then they just can't play it. And then
Yeah.
it's just gone. It's not even a situation of like, oh, I sold that game, I gotta like jump through some hoops to play it. Like, oh, I gotta boot it up on an emulator or something like that to play it. No, these games are gone. Like, you're not finding another way to play mobile games. And so it's just kind of weird that you can, have this nostalgic attachment to a game that is literally inaccessible, just wiped
Yeah.
off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it only makes me wonder how long until these other games shut down. Fire Emblem, I think they'll keep going for a while because it's still making a lot of money. But like, how long until Animal Crossing is done or Mario Kart Tour, like we were talking about, is done? Once they bring all the tracks over, like once this DLC booster course pass is over, they just be like, okay, Mario Kart Tour is dead. I don't
Not
think
enough
many
people are
would
buying Diddy
care.
Kong for $45.
Oh, Diddy. He's just been screwed over. Time after time. But then like Super Mario Run is like it's a game I still want to play at some point because it's just a $10 one-time purchase mobile Mario game, no microtransactions, no free to play stuff. It's just like a game with levels that I've heard is actually pretty fun for what it is. It's like I got to play that before they just decide to tear it down off the store. So it's the mobile era of Nintendo was very brief. I am personally somewhat grateful for that because I didn't ever want that to be a huge part of their strategy and content production. But there's still some content here and games here, some of which is worth experiencing that I just wonder how long until it's all gone. But then last year they just released that Pikmin game. Like they're still releasing games.
Don't know what their strategy is with the mobile sector. But
yeah. It's like I think we just know that they never liked the amount that they had to kind of nickel and dime the consumer. There were reports about that they tried to get their partners to lower the cost of microtransactions for their consumers. And they're like, no, that's not how this marketplace works. So it makes sense that they stepped out of it. I never really thought they fit in it that well. It always felt really weird to play Animal Crossing. And it's like, oh, but you can you need to get the Leaf ticket to keep playing today. And it's like, this is just bizarre. So it was a weird time. You never really played any of the games, did you?
I did not. I don't think I've played a single Nintendo offering on mobile because what you had, Animal Crossing, you had Super Mario Run, Mario Kart Tour, Fire Emblem, Dragalia Lost, which Mii one was it? Miitomo. Did not play that one either. It just didn't. Mobile games haven't interested me since I was in high school, where it was just like, oh, Temple Run and Balloons and
Tiny. Do you play Tiny Wings?
What? Which one?
Tiny Wings. Did you play that?
Tiny Wings.
Oh, I
No,
love
I don't
that
think I
game.
did.
That
Jetpack
was really
Joyride
good.
was another
Oh, that game's
classic.
great. Yep.
But yeah, since that era of like 2012, 2013, like I
Yeah.
have not cared at all. And yeah, I'm not heartbroken that Nintendo is kind of stepping away from it a little bit because I never had any interest in it. But for the people who did spend a lot of time and money on these things, even if you didn't spend money, you just spend all of this time and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
It just kind of sucks.
Yeah. But that is, I think that this is definitely the way their games are going. They already have shut down Dr. Mario World. They shut down that game last year, which was
No.
one of the last ones to release. So that game had a short lifespan. It was also not good. I played some of it. It was not a good puzzle game. Even like compared to other Match 3 games, I know Match 3 is pretty simple, but even compared to those, it was not fun. It was not good. So that was not surprising. And then Miitomo was shut down, gosh, 3 years ago already that game's been dead. So yeah, this is the way they're going. Dragalia lost, shutting down sometime after July 2022, after the last campaign chapter. Yeah, not giving people a lot of time to finish that campaign.
Hurry up, spend
Yeah,
more money.
Yeah, maybe I'll get into it. Maybe I'll play it this year. I will not. Okay, we got CD Projekt Red moving away from Nintendo. They have announced a new Witcher project in development. So there were some clarifications over this. They're not calling it The Witcher 4 specifically. That's just kind of the placeholder name that outlets are calling it right now. So the next big AAA Witcher game, the logo said The Witcher, a new saga begins. They are moving from their own engine to Unreal Engine 5, which you have to wonder if that decision came after some of the issues Cyberpunk saw, also from CD Projekt Red. And then basically the game director went online and said, there's not going to be any crunch under my watch on this game after just all the horrible stuff about Cyberpunk. Will that actually be the case? Gosh, I'd be hard pressed to say
because
yes.
I'm pretty sure on Cyberpunk, they were asked in like 2018 if there was going to be crunch on the project. And they're like, we've implemented all of these things so that we won't, crunch won't be a big issue here. And then as Cyberpunk gets closer to its ill-fated launch, the crunch rolled on in. So I take that with a heavy grain of salt.
Mm-hmm. And the director who talked about this, Jason Slama, said that he was able to lead Gwent, and that is the spin-off game of The Witcher, like the card game within the Witcher universe, to success without relying on controversial working practices. But that is such a different project. Like, I'm sorry, it is not a open world RPG. It's a card game, which, yeah, I mean, every game takes work. I'm not trying to belittle that.
Like, that's awesome. It just depends on how well you can scale that plan up for a much larger project.
Also, why are they doing this again, Cav? Why are they announcing a game way too early?
I don't get it. Yeah. I mean, maybe this will be different. Maybe it is further on in development than we think. Maybe they had decided on on splitting it into two different development teams that they were talking about around a little bit before Cyberpunk came out, I think, or around when Cyberpunk came out. Maybe that was a thing that happened earlier. But yeah, they just went through this whole thing with Cyberpunk where they announced it and then didn't really work on it for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've still got Cyberpunk DLC in development. So that is still something that's being worked on before everyone can kind of be all hands on deck on the upcoming Witcher game. But it's just crazy that I don't get why these companies still announce these games this early. It's just going to lead to bad things down the line. If we didn't hear about The Witcher for 2 or 3 more years, no one would be surprised. Like, man, where is The Witcher? Where is that game? But yeah, it's an interesting choice, especially like, man, did they learn anything like from what they just went through? Because this is setting up to be the same thing. Of people are going to get impatient. The shareholders and fans are going to pressure them, like, where is this game? And they're going to release it too early because they announced it too early. Like, I don't think we're going to see this game till the tail end of this decade. Like,
I would hope so. After what happened with Cyberpunk and how big these games are, I think if it comes any earlier than that, it's probably going to be broken.
Mm-hmm. I just got to ask, Kev, do you think, like, man, these games are getting too big with how long these games take to come out? Like, every major franchise, feel like you get one a decade at this point. At some point I'm like, man, is this just doesn't feel sustainable. Like I feel like the scope of some of these games is going to have to shrink down at some point if developers really want to alleviate crunch on their employees. That's the games just keep getting bigger and bigger every time, and it's just I don't know if that's going to be the way for much longer.
But that's also how they've conditioned people to take these games. It'd be like, oh, this next one is bigger and better than our last game, or Dying Light
Hmm.
coming out and being like, hey, our game is 500 hours if you want to
Yeah.
just lose your entire life in this game. Like that's what I think a lot of just normal gamers have been conditioned to think about upcoming games is just bigger and better than the last game. And we get, you get the conversations of people being like, oh, this game was 10 hours for $60. Really? I need to get at least 90 hours out of my game for it to be worth it. And sometimes, yeah, the 10 hours isn't high quality, and then that's an issue in and of itself. But a lot of the times I take a really well paced 10-hour game over a slog of a 60-hour adventure.
Hmm.
But I think people have just been conditioned to bigger and longer means better for all of these games. And that's not always how it works, both for the gamer who could just play a game that is incredibly bloated and has a lot of stuff that really doesn't need to be there, and for the developers that have to spend time putting all of that crap in that doesn't need to be there and kind of is a detriment to the rest of the game.
And everything's just an open world now. Like this is going beyond The Witcher, which was already an open world in The Witcher 3. But like everything is just an open world game. Freaking Sonic is an open world game now. And I'm like, we don't need everything to be open world. I like varied experiences and I don't want everything to be open world. And it's just like, I feel like whenever anyone thinks about what their dream game is, they're just like, I want open world this, I want open world that. And I'm like, why? These games and series are proven that they're good when they're not open world. Well, not Sonic. No, I'm not talking about Sonic anymore. It's not proven that it's good when it's not open
anything,
world.
really.
But a lot of games don't need to go open world. Like Kirby is an example. I saw a lot of people like, oh my God, it's open world Kirby. Speaking of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. But then when we learned it's more like Super Mario 3D World Kirby, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, well, I'm not buying it now because it's not open world. And like, why is that? Why is that? Maybe you just like open world games, and that's fine. Maybe you're just different than me in that way. But I just don't like this trend of everything needs to be an open world. It's just not. It's also not my favorite genre, so it's also coming from a more personal standpoint. But just from development time, like the bigger these things get, the longer it's going to be before you see things. And some series are really good about mitigating that. I look at something like Zelda. You don't get you get a main entry like once every 6 or 7 years at this point, but you get something else every year or two, like Link's Awakening. Talk about a really well-paced 10-hour game for $60. I loved that game. Thought it was great. Then you get like a Hyrule Warriors or the Cadence of Hyrule indie game. And it's like, it's franchise care where you're still getting to experience this franchise and world every year or so. But then The Witcher, the Netflix show, Gwent, that's it. That is all that has come out since The Witcher 3's DLC like 6 years ago. So it's just crazy to me how long it takes these series to come out.
Or you look at something like GTA, where you go back
Oh
to
my
the
God.
PS2 and you have 3 genre defining games that all come out within the span of what, like 4, 5, 6 years, something
Yeah.
along those lines. And now we have been waiting, coming on 10 years since GTA 5, and GTA 5 has been released over and over and over again. I guess you have the online new content that you have to spend so much money to do anything with the new content. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just there's been nothing really that new in 10 years. And
Yeah, and
probably for the foreseeable future, because GTA 6 probably isn't coming for at least another 2 or 3 years.
yeah. And that's something else that's kind of this really fits well into the Witcher conversation also, because a lot of these big studios that are known for one game series are also they're now making two. They're now making two game series, right? You have Rockstar that makes GTA and Red Dead. If Red Dead 2 didn't exist, GTA 6 would probably be out by now. Who knows? Maybe they just keep milking 5. But and then you have Now you have Cyberpunk has been the big project since The Witcher for CD Projekt, so that's why we haven't seen more of The Witcher. You can even say this about Naughty Dog, who has Uncharted and The Last of Us, that they've kind of been alternating between ever since the first Last of Us came out. So it's like these big studios, I guess, don't want to burn out on making one franchise, which I appreciate and respect, because I think you can really kind of tell when they're just going through the motions of a franchise. But it just means if you only care about one, gosh, how many more are you even going to come out in your lifetime? Because the gap between releases is only getting longer and longer. It's like one a decade at this point, especially for these big studios that make two things and alternate between. It just takes forever.
I mean, you go back to, just like a decade ago where, Rockstar is juggling like 4 GTA games and DLCs. Red Dead Redemption comes out. They make Bully. They can
Yeah.
go out and try something new. Whereas now these games are so big where, yeah, you do kind of pick one, maybe two, and you're just rolling along with that. You're rolling along with Red Dead and GTA. You're rolling along with Witcher and Cyberpunk. And if you try and add anything else to that slate, unless it's like a remaster, GTA trilogy, yikes. But if it's not that, if it's actually taking your development team, you're probably not seeing anything from a
Mm-hmm.
specific series for forever. But you want them to try something new. You want them to branch out and make a new series. But at the same time, you're also like, yeah, I don't really want to wait 13 years to get the next
Yeah.
game in this series. It's not like I want it to happen every 2 years or anything. I don't need the PS2 generation of every 2 years to come out, because that's not going to happen the way games are being developed now, because they're so big. I don't need that. But when you're talking about coming on over a decade for some of these, it does get a little long.
And it's not just the size of these things either, it's the fidelity too. Like, I think games just got a lot slower when we entered the HD era in general. And now in this 4K era where everything has to be the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen or people hate it, like, that's just the reality is these things are so much harder to make. I feel like these companies used to have studios kind of peppered around the world, and it's like, oh, this studio is working on Grand Theft Auto while this studio is working on Red Dead. Now every studio is working on the same game. Like, now it's like, oh, and they're working here on this part of Red Dead Redemption 2, and over here they're working on this other part. It's not like it used to be, where Rockstar would have 4 studios working on different games. It's like, all right, what part of GTA 6 are they working on now? Which is just the reality of how many dang people it takes to make one of these things now. It's just crazy. They're getting too big. I'll say it. They're getting too big and they look too good to be sustainable. And I don't know what's going to happen.
We'll see what happens, because it doesn't look like it's really going to be slowing down.
Yeah.
Seems like it's going the same way it always has.
Yeah. All right. On the PlayStation side, we've got another acquisition. Haven Studios has been acquired by PlayStation. We knew that they were working on a live service game for
Okay.
PlayStation. Yeah, right. But
Speaking of games that take too long.
yeah. But now they've just been acquired by PlayStation. So another studio joining the PlayStation family. This very much feels in line with their recent acquisitions. Just already had a partnership in place to make an exclusive game. Hey, why not scoop them up and support them financially, and with the other benefits you get for joining PlayStation Studios, like support from other studios. So I think it makes sense. It's not a big bombshell, but it seems like a smart move, especially for PlayStation, who seems to have a really big focus moving forward on live service games, as we've talked about.
Yay, I'm very much looking forward to that. Yeah, looking at this where it's like, oh, they're making a live service game. Oh, one of the big people running the show is worked on Assassin's Creed. Yay. But, maybe it'll be great. Maybe I can be surprised, but it doesn't breed a ton of confidence from me that it'll be something that I'm really interested in. But, any way that you can diversify the lineup in some way is always good.
Mhm.
Have a fresh take on certain games can always liven up your library, if it's not just Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch or just the same couple of
Yeah.
studios hitting it over and over again. At the very least, you get a new take on whatever it is. Whether or not that's good, we don't know, but nice to have other studios in there throwing their hat in the ring.
And this studio was founded after Jade Raymond left Google because she was at Stadia prior to this. So she was at Ubisoft, then she
Oof.
was at Stadia, and ended up they did not release a game, I don't think, because Google shuttered them before they could. And now she founded this new studio working on a live service game. It's interesting, Kev. PlayStation games used to like have a single player and multiplayer component, but now it seems like we're getting half the games are going to be these single player cinematic, no multiplayer feature whatsoever, and then half of them are going to be live service multiplayer only. And it's an interesting strategy. I guess it's fine because I mean, people like us could just ignore the live service games if we want and just play the single player stuff, or vice versa if you're only into multiplayer and don't care about single player. But it's just an interesting kind of shift as what we've seen them do before.
Yeah, as long as they keep making the single player games that I want to play, I'm not going to have that big of an issue with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And our last story, this serves as our rumor roundup, our weekly Sonic Frontiers segment for the week. This is not a rumor, but you know. So this is from Xbox Wire, and this is the Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That's for the movie. Custom Xbox controllers. So there is a giveaway they're doing over on Twitter right now that you still have about a week and a half to go retweet the correct hashtag if you want to get in on this. And it is an Xbox Series S console with two controllers that are extremely furry and somewhat disturbing. They are so bizarre looking. You've got a blue one covered in Sonic's fur, a red one covered in Knuckles' fur, and then the console itself is actually kind of cool because you know that the Series S has that big like cooling grate. They put a gold ring around it like a Sonic ring, and then they have Sonic and Knuckles from the movie kind of facing off on the bottom of the console. So the console looks kind of neat, but Kev, these controllers,
they're weird. And it's even weirder that they're like officially licensed. I feel like these would just be some random thing that Mad Catz did in like 2006 of just making some weird furry controller. I have to want like it kind of looks like the fur, like you have to like dig into like the fur forest to try and find the buttons sometimes. Like, I'm just morbidly curious how that would feel to play. Like if you made that your go-to controller, like what does that feel like? What is that experience? I just want to know.
Do you retweet it?
Not
Are you
yet.
in?
I'll have to do that.
I gotta enter this thing. Yeah, it's
One of us can get it.
bizarre.
We can experience these bizarre controllers.
This movie's real close though, Kev. It's really close. I'm very excited. It's what, 2 weeks from Friday, I think, that the movie's coming out. So that's really soon. Yeah, excited about that. But yeah, these controllers are just absolutely bizarre. It's funny they're in a giveaway. If they were just selling these, that'd be unbelievable.
You go buy
But
one,
yeah,
right?
I would.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I totally would. I'd buy the Sonic one, absolutely.
And then
Yeah,
Zach can buy the Knuckles one.
I would just have to know. And then we would play Sonic Frontiers on Xbox with that controller, and we'd be like eating snacks, passing around this controller, and it's getting like all disgusting with the hair on the.
It's like if you have a beard and you're like eating food and it gets all stuck in there. Yeah, you got to be extra careful. You can't have grubby hands on that. Like, if you get the grub on the fur,
gross. That's rumor roundup, and that's the news, Kev.
Great rumor this week.
Yeah.
I hope it comes true.
I do too. I hope it comes true also.
All right, a quick what we've been playing. I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West some more, having a good time with it. Starting to get more into some of the new mechanics and a lot of the new weapons and things. And Aloy does talk a lot. The inner monologue is endless. And sometimes it's a little weird. There was an instance where there was just kind of like a range that I could do this quest, and it was like you have to follow the tracks or something, or you have to do something with your focus to find something and then follow it. And I walked into it, and she's like, "Oh, better follow those tracks." And then I see an item like on the wall, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go grab that and come back." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm too far from the tracks." And then you walk back to the location. She's like, "Oh, I should take a look at those tracks." I'm, oh my god, like, I was just here. I know I'm getting to it. Calm down. But beyond that, I think the rest of the game is great. The game is absolutely gorgeous, both in the world and in the designs of all of the mechs is so good. And as you get further into the game, I just appreciate how you have to strategize in a lot of instances of how you want to go about fighting these things, and it's really satisfying when it works, where you're like, all right, I need to survey the landscape. I see that this guy has like a turret on his back that I can take off. And so then you go for that, you take his turret off, and then you kind of make quick work of some of the other guys that are around him. I just appreciate that you can kind of sit back from a distance, use your focus, find their weaknesses, and kind of strategize with how you want to go about things. And the added weapons and the amount of options that you have really helps out in a lot of those combat encounters.
Yeah, the combat is great. I think the human combat can still be left by the wayside. I don't think it's nearly as good as the machine combat, but yeah, the machine combat is a ton of fun. How far are you roughly into the game? How much you played?
A little under 20 hours. So
Okay,
I've
nice.
gotten to like the main open area. You start in a smaller location, and then it kind of opens up in the as you get a little bit further into it. And I've been in that area for a little while. I've been going around and doing a lot of the side quests, and some of them have been really fun. One of the more
Totally.
recent ones that I did, you had to make a choice on who you want to side with a certain thing, and you know they're. I mean, some of the side quests are throwaway. That always happens, but to an extent, I think that it's been kind of impressive with the depth of some of the side quests and how you actually come to care about some of these characters, and how certain side quests will go along for like 3 or 4 different sections of a side quest as the story progresses from start to finish. So that's been fun to go and do those. I've been kind of leaving the story off to a side once I got to the main open area. I've been kind of doing some of the random stuff, but it's a good time.
Cool. Machine Strike?
Not yet.
Ah.
I've just been doing the actual machine striking combat.
That's fair.
I'll get to it eventually. How about you? What have you been up to?
Elden Ring. Oh man, it just continues. I've been having a great time with it this last week. It's just been bouncing between Mario Kart and Elden Ring. It's been super fun. I have one story I wanted to share this week, just to kind of talk about how organic and fun this game can be. I was in the game's second main dungeon. They're called Legacy Dungeons. I think they're called that because it's like what a level of Dark Souls would be, basically. And it's this academy. It's like this wizard academy. It is super cool. And when you're going up to the boss, there's this staircase, and this giant Indiana Jones sized boulder falls down on the staircase and starts chasing you down. I'm like, oh my God. Like it's crazy when it happens the first time. And then you progress past that into this room, and there's this knight that shows up, and he just kicks your butt. He is way better than you. I was appropriate level for this dungeon. Like I was doing fine through the whole thing until this guy who can basically one-shot you. And he is guarding the elevator that leads up to the boss, like the main boss of this academy. And you have to pull a lever to call the elevator down. So he kept murdering me because I didn't have time to pull the lever to call the elevator down before he would backstab me and one-shot me. So what I did was it took me like 10 minutes. I goaded him out into the staircase with the boulder, and I just like would get him under it, and I had the boulder crush him 5 times to kill him. And so I didn't have to lay a finger on him. I was just like doing this dodging, dancing around him. He would like come barreling down the staircase and then just get crushed by this giant boulder. He wasn't smart enough to figure out not to stand there. He just kept getting crushed by it. And then I killed him, and he's an enemy that doesn't come back. So then every time I had to run back to the boss, he just wasn't there bugging me anymore. I got his shield, which actually had high magical defense, which is what you needed for the boss. So it was just like, man, it's just so cool when you think of something and then can pull it off like that and just have this guy get slaughtered by this boulder. It was super funny.
It's always fun when a game allows you to be creative with how you want to kill things.
Yeah. But then I'm in this mine right now, and it's just like 10 layers deeper than like it just keeps growing. I'm like, God, when is this thing gonna end? Like, I don't understand how this game is this big. Like, it's just freaking huge. It is enormous and deep too. Like, there's so much underground that you could just totally miss if you don't go underground at all, because you don't have to. But then you do, and it's like, geez, this mine is like 5 levels, and it's huge, and there's like 3 bosses in here I didn't even know about. So, yeah, having a great time with it. I did have to call in Zach to help me kill a couple bosses, but the multiplayer is pretty fun. Yeah, there's this one boss. I got it too. You couldn't even see its health bar. You also couldn't see my health bar. And then it summoned like this troll that killed me. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I just called in Zach, and he killed it with me. It's like I proved I could have beaten it, right?
You got close enough.
It was right there.
Got to call in the backup.
Yeah, it's just a great time.
All right, do we want to get into the Ode To? I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is one that we've been sitting on the back burner for quite some time, so it'll be nice to finally talk about it. We've talked
Yeah,
about this in certain instances, when Strikers got announced or, any sort of stuff with Mario Kart. We're talking about Mario Spinoffs today. That can mean a
nice.
lot of things. If you look it up, some of these things, I question if they're actually Mario Spinoffs. But
Agreed.
um, so yeah, gonna go through some of our history with Mario spin-offs, and those past games, where those series are now, if they're around, and what you want to see in those series moving forward. So I guess to start, Logan, what is your past experiences with any form of Mario spin-offs? If you want to rattle through some of these games and hit some of the highlights slash lowlights, if you have any of them.
Yeah, so you all know we're big Mario sports fans, me and Kev. I've played a lot of the Mario sports games. Mario Superstar Sluggers on GameCube is my favorite Mario sports game, and then I didn't like Superstar Baseball. Mario
Superstar
Superstar
Baseball was the
Baseball on
original.
GameCube.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's
And
my favorite
Sluggers
one.
is
And then
the
Super Sluggers, I do not like as much. And then Strikers on GameCube, I love. Wii, not as much. Tennis, I love tennis on Nintendo 64 is where I played the most Mario Tennis ever. And then Aces, of course, I do really like.
and
And
Ultra
then
Smash.
and then some Mario Golf. Again, the 64 Golf is the one I've played a lot. I really want to play the Advance and Color Mario Golf and Tennis because I've heard they're really good RPGs like Golf
They're great.
Story. So I do want to play those.
Yeah.
Mario Hoops 3 on 3, the basketball game on DS that uses touchscreen controls and has a Moogle from Final Fantasy as an unlockable character because it was developed by Square Enix. That one's really fun. It's actually a good basketball game. I played that game a lot when I was a kid. It's pretty fun. Sports Mix is the only one that brought basketball back, and it is not good in that game. The basketball in Sports Mix is bad. I guess the Olympics have it too, but those games
The
are
Olympics ones are never fleshed out in any way.
No. And then Beyond Sports, Paper Mario. We've talked about that series a lot in our history with it. I think I've played more of Mario and Luigi than I actually have played of Paper Mario. Because I've played a lot of I've never finished the original Paper Mario. I've played
Get on it.
Partners in Time, Bowser's Inside Story. I've basically finished Partners in Time. And then Dream Team I played over half of, and it's just not very good. And then I recently picked up Superstar Saga. I got it on 3DS.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I found it for $30, and I was like, "Yeah, that's
Wow,
a
that's a
great
good
deal
deal.
for this."
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the red box. Do they all have the red box?
So yeah, I was looking that up at a certain point with all of the Mario games, they changed it to a red box. So for
Yeah.
some
Uh huh.
games, when they got reprints, they changed them to a red box. But some of the really late 3DS games, if they were Mario games, they just came out with the red box.
Like
So
Mario Kart 7. I have it in a white box, but I've seen it in a red box. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
yeah, I was
No,
curious
but
about that too.
this was the only one besides Paper Jam. I don't care to own that
Paper
one.
Jam.
This is the only one I didn't own because I have Partners in Time and Bowser's Inside Story on DS, and then I have Dream Team. So I figured I should grab this on 3DS and play it. So yeah, that was my 3DS pickup for the week. But I really love the Mario and Luigi games. It's a shame what has happened to Alpha Dream and what happened to the quality of the games there at the end, because the first three, I played some of Superstar Saga on Game Boy Advance. The first three games are really good, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Dream Team. But
Same thing that
yeah.
happened with Paper Mario, I think.
Yeah. Chatty, simplified, worried about a younger audience. Yeah, really, really ruined those franchises. And then besides those, the RPGs, Mario Party, I've talked about a ton recently. Played pretty much every one. Captain Toad is one of my favorite Mario spin-offs. Dr. Mario, I've been a little bit into in the past few years. And then two ones I don't really talk about. Fortune Street is a Dragon Quest plus Super Mario Monopoly type game that has a whole series in Japan, but I think only one game ever came out in America, and that's the one on Wii. And it's like about investing in property, investing in the stock market. It's not really like Mario Party. It's much closer to Monopoly, and there's not really mini games. It's more about the math and the investment and the luck of the money. But I used to play that with my family a lot. I was telling Kev before the show, it just takes like 2 hours to play a game. Like, they are long games. 2
Like
hours
Monopoly.
is conservative. It's conservative. It's like 2 to 3 hours to play one game of Fortune Street. And then DDR Mario Mix, Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix, has an amazing soundtrack. It is one of the best Mario soundtracks out there. Just the remixes of some of the classic songs, some of the original songs with vocals that are like the style of the Odyssey vocal songs actually originally reminded me of DDR Mario Mix's music. I'm like, whoa, they're going back to this, but that game is awesome. I used to play it all the time.
Yeah, as for me, I think it's pretty similar. Baseball and Strikers, of course, Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi, Mario Party, Mario Kart. I played the first Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Did not need to play any more of them after that. I was fine with that first one. I didn't hate it when I played
Mm-hmm.
it, but I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna get any new experiences playing any of these other ones. I
Well, I
think
played the
the one
second
is
one because it
fine.
was winter. I got the first
That was
summer one
yeah.
and then the first winter one and then never another one after that.
But now the Wii U one's really expensive.
Dang it. Yep.
So yeah, those are the past of some of those series. As for now, a lot of them aren't really in a good place. Baseball
Mm-hmm.
is MIA. Strikers is coming back. I mean,
It
I
looks
assume that
good.
game's going to be good, but wait and see until that comes out. But I have faith in that. And a lot of the other sports games are not really there or not
Mm-hmm.
very good in golf. And I mean, tennis seems like it's got a good core game there, but
Oh, the single player is
the,
awful. Like
the
that's just
rest of
it's
the game isn't
objectively
very
bad.
good. Paper Mario, I've gone on over and over after 1,000 Year Door. That thing fell off a cliff. Mario and Luigi is effectively dead with
Mm-hmm.
Alpha Dream gone. Mario Kart's still going, and Mario Party's come back.
Big
So,
resurgence. Yeah.
with Mario Party, it shows that it can come back. But I guess the next question after, looking at the state of Mario spinoffs is, where do you see the future of these games, and what do you think they need to come back?
I think that some of these it's time for some of them to come back. I think that we heard that Paper Mario kind of diverted because they didn't want two Mario RPG series, so that's why Paper Mario kind of got morphed into something really different than what it started out as. So now that Alpha Dream's gone, maybe you can have a real RPG come back for Mario. Like, gosh, come on! I think that would be really great, but Intelligent Systems makes the Paper Mario games. They make freaking Fire Emblem. They know how to make an RPG. Just let them make an RPG with original characters and it'll be great. But
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
you just need
see that happening.
to give these developers more leeway to create something new and fresh. I feel like with a lot
Mhm.
of more recent games, it feels like they're just going through the motions of the bare bones of what you need. Like with tennis, it's just like, all right, it's the same tennis game that you've played
Yeah.
before. We added in a single player because people wanted that, but it's not very good. Golf is basically the same. You have, like speed golf is like a small thing, but it's not that
It wore out
revolutionary.
fast.
And yeah, a lot of them we've talked about this with these games in general when we talk about them in passing, but a lot of them have just gotten really bland, which is why it was so exciting to see Mario Strikers come back with seemingly all of the character that it had in the mid 2000s, because
Mhm.
we really haven't seen that from any of these in a long time. So that gives me hope that, after Mario Party is coming back with some quality games and Mario Strikers seems to be back, that gives me hope that some of these games will get on the right track. But, I don't know. I've kind of lost hope in Paper Mario. Like, it's burned me multiple times, and I don't really want to get burned again on that.
Yeah.
And holding out hope for Mario Baseball since Strikers was able to come back, but, who knows if and when that'll come back. But yeah, I think they just need more freedom to just do what they want and create something memorable. Like, I look back on Mario Baseball, and just that campaign that they had was so cool, of just going around this world and doing challenges and facing off against teams, and like gathering all of these team members to create your team. Like, that was super
Mhm.
cool. And now there's either no story mode, or it's just very simple and there's not a whole lot to it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that I this won't happen, but it would just be so nice to see a Mario spin-off that's not named Kart or Party get a bigger budget. Like a lot of these games feel rushed or content light or just a little cheap around the edges. And something like Mario Kart 8, obviously they're going to pour more into that. It's one of their mega franchises. These other Mario spin-offs are not, but it would just be really nice to see like Strikers looks like that to me. Like it's coming from Next Level Games. Luigi's Mansion 3 is outstanding and looks gorgeous, and Strikers looks like kind of the higher budget Mario spin-off I've been looking for. Could still be content light. Only looks like there's 10 characters, which is pretty light
We'll
roster.
see.
But yeah, I would just love to see like a big Mario RPG again. Like maybe you go back to Square Enix, like Mario RPG, the original one, Super Mario RPG on the SNES. People love that game. Like how cool would it be if they actually went back and gave an RPG over to Square to do something with? Like, that would be super cool. Maybe just remake that game to get things started. I don't know. But I agree. It all has felt very bland. Kart and Party, I think, are in a really good place. Strikers looks like it's in a good place. But other than that, everything on this list is like, ugh, it's not in the best shape right now.
And like we were talking about before with, even like Rockstar and everything like that, I feel like they have kind of pared down. Like you look
Mm-hmm.
back on like the mid 2000s where you've got all of these different Mario sports games, Mario Hoops, 3-on-3, all these just random titles, all Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi all going simultaneously. And
Mm-hmm.
now it kind of feels like it's been filed down, whether that's because they don't want to invest in certain games or some companies are just gone. But
Totally.
it feels like they filed that down. But it's also not like Rockstar where it's like, well, at the very least, GTA and Red Dead are super high quality games. It's like we filed it down, but they're not very good.
Yeah.
At least some of them aren't very good.
Yeah. And that being said, though, the Switch has been very good for some kind of Mario spin-offs. Like I wouldn't call Luigi's Mansion a Mario spin-off at this point. I guess it started out that way, but it's really its own thing at this point. But Luigi's Mansion 3 was amazing. And that is a game that came out that is technically a Mario spin-off that felt polished and good. Captain Toad is a Wii U game, but there's another one that is like, this is a really cool Mario Universe game that's not a Super Mario game. That's a really fantastic game too. It's just like the non-action adventure platforming games, like the sports games or the RPGs that have fallen by the wayside. Everything else is in a good spot, but it's like, man, when was the last time we had a good Mario RPG? I guess you had the remakes of Bowser's Inside Story and Superstar.
In terms
But
of a brand new game would probably be Bowser's Inside Story on DS.
in 2009, it has been 13 years since a good Mario RPG. That's crazy. Yeah. And people like Super Paper Mario, which was like a year before that, like around the same time. So
that was already really toeing the line. I don't think you would really
it's
call
not even
that
an
an
RPG.
RPG
Yeah.
at a certain point. That's more of like a platformer with light RPG elements in it.
And when was the last time we had a great sports game? Like great. Like I like Aces, but I understand its problems. When was the last time there was a really great sports game?
On GameCube, probably.
Like people like the Wii games. People like Wii
I
baseball
like Charged.
is.
I like Charged. Sluggers, I'm less into in comparison.
But it's better than what we're getting now.
Oh,
if a Sluggers quality game came out now, we'd be like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
I mean, at a certain point, it's just like I want baseball back, however it comes back.
Yeah.
But yeah,
actually, I'll take it back. Mario Golf World Tour on 3DS is great. That is a great golf game with great single player content, great multiplayer, really cool courses. That game's super underrated. So I'll actually take it back and say that is the last great Mario sports game, which was still like 2013. It was still like
that's still a while ago,
really long time ago. So yeah.
And if you want any series to get traction again, the Switch is a great place to do it. The Switch has shown that people are willing to, invest in new games or just broaden their game library from past consoles. So if now's the time to try things out and bring back series or create something new.
Yeah.
I just
bring back DDR.
Bring back DDR. That would be a wild one if they brought that back. That would be crazy. I just want a good Paper Mario game. The longer that it's been since I played Origami King, the less and less I like that game. I really don't like it anymore. Like that combat just sucks so hard, and it sucks because the rest of the game is quality. I like the characters and the humor and the worlds and the art style and everything, but the actual game, actually playing the game, is just not very fun.
Yeah. I burned out on it hard. I never finished it. I was like, I like this. Wow, I hate the combat. Wow, I hate the Ghost of Tsushima came out. I never touched it again.
Yeah. That would be one. If I could pick any of these to come back strong, it'd be Paper Mario. But yeah, have to wait and see. Any sort of RPG would be good. All right. Any final thoughts? That's probably going to be it before we
Yeah,
wrap up
real
for this
quick.
week.
I got a couple other pickups. I got
Oh,
this Namco Museum on 3DS or on DS. Whatever.
okay. What spurred that?
I was pressured into it. GameStop.
What?
Yeah, I went in
Wait,
and
you were pressured into buying a DS game?
they actually had DS games up, and you're gonna laugh at me when I tell you what I actually bought. The reason that I had them open the case. There were 4 games in there, and the one that I had them open it up for was Madden Football on 3DS. I've always been extremely curious about this game. It's really expensive physically, and this was like $20 for the cart. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll grab that. And then they're like, you want to grab any of these others so I can put this case away? And there was like a Frozen game in there, and there was something else that did not look appealing. But then I saw the Namco Museum, and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So those were my other pickups this week.
No deal or no deal?
No,
deal,
no deal or no deal.
No,
But I actually heard the
deal or
Namco
no
Museum. I've heard the Namco Museum game is good. So whatever.
Namco Museum's usually pretty good.
Yeah,
Whatever console they're on.
I'm gonna play Madden Football though on 3DS. See what that's like.
Oh, whatever happened to Ever Oasis?
I got
apart?
ghosted. I got ghosted by the person.
Dang.
I messaged them the day before the deal was supposed to happen, and they did not message back. So maybe they were just busy. Maybe it's still available. So it hasn't.
So maybe they can get back to you.
Yet.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
have to hear some updates on that. See how that saga ends.
Kirby next week too. Kirby, super excited.
Yeah, reviews have just dropped. Seems like
Looks
people
great.
are liking it a lot. I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Have thoughts on that next week.
Sorry, I know we're super long. I got one more bone to pick. This will take 20 seconds. They re-released 3 Kirby amiibo. 2 of them are in the Kirby series, and then the Dedede's in the Smash series. And I'm like, why did you do that? Because there is a Kirby series Dedede that they just didn't re-release. It's like you can get the Kirby Meta Knight, or the Kirby, the Kirby Meta Knight, or the Smash Dedede, and it bugs me. That is all.
All right, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
On that note, that is going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode To Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, odetogames.com, any other podcast streaming service that you may use. YouTube has the video version at Ode To Games. We're on Twitter at Ode To Games. You can send an email to odetogamescast@gmail.com. For Logan, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.